And so it's finally time for us to talk about the new upcoming Limit Breaker quest. In this case, the rules were posted over around 40 hours ago. This one was kind of a funny situation given that the rules were posted before the end of month banner even got announced. And that's why going into the most recent end of month banner, we knew we were going to be getting a new Mind Quincy killer, which is what we exactly got with the new 1000-year Blood War Ishin. So as always, breaking down the rules, having a look at the best characters, let's talk about it. So first up in slot number 1, you want to bring a Mind character that is melee with also Quincy killer. Of course, Ishin does fit the build there, but I think there are potentially a few other characters you can bring. We'll have a look at those in a minute. Slot number 2 wants us to bring another Mind character. In this case, also be melee, this time with Super Killer. And then slot number 3, the flexible slot, although I believe this is the first time we are seeing this, and I don't quite frankly like it, is that it does have a killer effect ×3, so they are kind of encouraging you more so to bring a Technica Ranker killer, more so than bring any character you usually want to in slot 3. Having said that, killer effect ×3 is nothing too crazy, and even then, you could just bring anyone with a Ranker killer. They don't have to be a Technic character, and you can still bring any character you want here. But this time around, if you do bring a Technic Ranker killer, they are getting just a tad bit more extra damage. Right from the get-go, at least according to the rules, this is what it seems like Killer want you to bring. Slot 1, of course, for Ishin. Slot 2, coincidentally enough, is 8th Anniversary White. And then slot 3, you can either bring Rangiku or 1000-year Blood War Aizen. Right from the get-go, though, I will actually say the best team to probably bring is 1, keep Ishin in slot 1, White in slot 2, and then of course because you are bringing 2 Mind characters, well now it's a perfect opportunity to take advantage of Yuha bucks, recharge in between stages, in this case a full Mind team. Your accessories and links might be spread thin here, but in this case you have 3 really good characters, right? Yuha is always great in slot 3, he's giving you 2 soul bombs, but then he's allowing White and also Ishin best in slots for slot 1 and 2 to get their strong attacks back every time they're available. If this is going to be a normal month of Limit Breaker where the enemies don't have a significantly more increased HP stat like we saw last month, this team very well could maybe break into the 40s if you do have them maybe max incentive, which is something for the record we've never seen before. Actually, I think we have. I think someone has broken into the 40s once, and that was during the end of year banner. But it's very rare to see that. This team, though, is setting up to be very powerful. But with that said, let's have a look at some potential alternative options. So first up then, slot number 1 wants to bring a Mind character that is a Quincy killer that is also a melee type character. And in this case, unfortunately to be fair, there's not that many characters that fit all requirements. Of course, the best character, as we already have spoken about, is going to be the new 1000-year Blood War Ishin. Really high damage output with Frenzy +2 and 120% SP boost, 50% Berserker, and then every kill that he does get, he gets 2% more damage from his Rampage skill. And that does in itself cap out 100% more damage. So Ishin is going to be hitting crazy hard, especially with the strong attack hit that he does have. He's going to be an amazing Limit Breaker character throughout any given month if you really want to use a good Mind character. But especially right now where of course he does get all the damage bonuses. Now the alternatives here is going to be Christmas Grimjow and or, who at this point in time is 2 years old, Visored Lisa. Now in the case of Christmas Grimjow, I don't recommend really using him. I mean, if you really want to and you have no other good alternative, you might as well, right? His damage output honestly isn't even that bad for a mid-month farm character. Frenzy +1, 80% SP boost when you do inflict status summons. You have an increased chance to inflict status summons against any hard enemy. So more often than not, he is going to get a status summon. And when you do inflict status summons, you're then doing 80% more damage. The all good part with this character is his strong attack hit, especially that SA3, which might leave you open to attacks, especially against the poised enemies. But I think his damage output will be serviceable to get you to at least stage 21 where you get all the rewards. But I think everyone's go-to, especially if you are skipping this upcoming end of month banner, is going to be this Lisa, who is a premium character. You might have her duped out, and her damage output also once more is actually quite high. 60% Berserker, Frenzy +1, 80% SP boost, increased chance to inflict status summons, which in this case is Paralysis and also Lacerate. You do 40% more damage to lacerated enemies, and that's going to be really good for those poised enemies, right? Where if you use one strong attack, very likely you are going to just freeze all the enemies in place, more so paralyze them in place, where you're then doing 40% more damage, potentially 80% if you do want to give them more damage to lacerated enemies as a bonus ability. Keep in mind though, there is going to be weakening pulls, and she herself isn't immune to weakening, so you are going to have to be a bit careful when you are maneuvering around the map. But she is getting all the damage multipliers here. She does have a good enough damage output, and given her premium status over the last 2 years, you might have her duped out. I believe I have a max transcended, I'm not too sure, but even at 1525, she's definitely going to be a good enough character to use in slot number 1, especially if you are skipping this end of month banner, which does include the new 1000-year Blood War Ishin. If you can't meet the requirements of having a mind melee character with Quincy Killer, as always, you can just bring any mind character that is a melee character. In that case, your options open up a tad bit more, and in that case, what you can do is then bring Yuha in slot number 1, right? If you're fine with bringing a Technique character in slot 3, let's say 1000-year Blood War Aizen, well then using Yuha in slot 1 is still going to be really good, especially if you can pair him with White in slot 2, because at that point, White is still then getting the recharge in between stages. I mean, we've already spoken about Yuha in general, but Yuha is really good. He has a high damage output. When you get 80 kills, you get an extra soul bomb. That is such a good skill, in my opinion, in Limit Breaker. Getting access to 2 soul bombs means you can clear those more difficult stages where there are poised enemies, which does potentially allow you to get into a higher threshold, like stage 30, for example, if your team is good enough. But high damage output, recharge in between stages. In this case, Yuha can literally be used in slot 1 or slot 3. Really depends on how you do want to go handling him. Other than that, I mean, there's not really that there's no one that stands out to me per se. I mean, there's some other alternatives that you could use. Unironically, you could use the Aaroniero. You could even use Yumachika to a certain extent. Like, you could get away using them, but they're definitely not going to be super ideal. As always, though, what you can do, because you aren't forced to bring a mind character, it's recommended, of course, but you could always just bring a Quincy Killer that is melee, and in this case, your alternative options are going to be these characters, although no one really stands out here. You could maybe get away using Ichibe and also 1000-year Blood War Yamamoto, but their damage output definitely is going to be lacking, and it's going to be more so recommended you have duplicates of them. I think in this case, you're better off just bringing a mind melee character. Bring your best one at that. If they can have Quincy Killer, even better. Next up, though, slot 2 also wants to bring another mind character. In this case, a once more mind melee character. So the options are the exact same. The character that we just spoke about, you can use in this case once more. If you really want to, you could use Yuha in slot 2 if you have no other better alternative. Let's say if you are hypothetically in the situation where you do pull Ishin, you're going to use Ishin in slot 1, but you don't have access to 8th Anniversary White. Of course, White is best in slot for slot 2. He's a mind melee character with Sword Per Killer, and, you know, White in of itself has a high damage output, and he actually allows your mind character to do 30% more damage on your soul bomb. So if you are doing the best team that you can bring, Ishin, White, and also Yuha, you know, 2 characters get to use their soul bomb. And those 2 soul bombs are doing 30% more damage. And if you are using a White soul bomb in particular, I mean, he has weakened defense, he has bombardment, you're going to go through his quest super fast, right? But as we already stated, yeah, White's going to be in best in slot 2, right? But hypothetically, if you don't have him, but you do pull Ishin, well, then you can use Ishin in slot 1, and then you can then use Yuha in slot 2 to then give Ishin the recharge in between stages, and then Yuha would still be a serviceable character here, given that he is a mind melee character. Likewise, you can use any other character we mentioned. Maybe worst case scenario, bring someone like Yumachika if you did pull him. But keep in mind, the rules for slot 2 don't specify that you need to bring a mind character. Of course, it's encouraged since they do get attribute advantage, but in this case, you could just bring a super killer that is melee, and in this case, these are what your options are. So worst case scenario, if you don't have a good mind character, you could just bring Yachiru Unohana. You could just bring True Shika Ichigo, where Ichigo in particular, you know, he's a character that doesn't really care about attribute advantage. He mostly just cares about having killer, because that's where he does have his increased chance. So at that point, Frenzy plus 2, 100% more damage to status afflicted enemies, more so 150% with the 80% SP boost. And also the Getsuko Jujishu attack. I mean, he might be a decent character in slot 2 if you have no good mind character to use, in case you are using a mind character in slot 1 and also 3. Yachiru, of course, is an amazing character in Limit Breaker, but it feels like Killab never want you to bring her because they know how good she actually is. But given that she is a melee Sword Per Killer with Rampage, Frenzy 2, 80% SP boost with the Trap Effect SA3 which can apply weakening, and also has the potential chance to heal your team, right, if they need that extra survivability, yeah, I think she'll be good in slot 2. Despite it in this case not having attribute advantage, I think in her case it wouldn't really matter. So quite a few characters you can bring here. Any good mind character in slot 2 or any good melee character with Sword Per Killer is good enough to bring for slot number 2. And that takes us into slot 3, again the flexible slot. If we have a look at Technique of Ranky Killers, these are going to be your better characters to bring just because they do get the extra killer effects. And in this case, Rangiku might make for a decent option here. Remember, she's a bit of a weird character when it comes to Limit Breaker, given her, you know, range collision attacks. You are going against poised enemies. But I think her damage output is good enough as is, right? Frenzy plus 2, 80% SP boost, 40% more damage to lash-rated enemies. And then she does get more full stamina damage the more kills that she does get. In this case, capping out at 60% more full stamina damage when she does get 40 enemies defeated, which is easily done in like 2 stages. Just like 2 months ago though, if you didn't pull for Rangiku, even if you have Rangiku, good old reliable 1000-year Blood War Aizen is always going to be a good character here with a very consistent damage output, given that he is a normal attack damage character with a very high damage output with his Flurry +1, 80% attack boost, and then also the gauge effect, which gives him 100% more bruiser, on top of allowing him to get the extra recharge when the gauge does activate, so you can sack that boost and also barrier. Again, if you find yourself spread thin on trying to use too many mind characters, Aizen's going to be a good character in slot 3. Again, some good alternatives, right? You know, you don't always have to just look at the Aaroniero killer, right? Just bring a technique character. In this case, you could unironically bring someone like Ichiban in slot 3. You could bring someone like Renewed Ichigo. In this case, you know, his damage output isn't as high as, you know, Aizen's damage output, given that he is getting the, you know, extra 60% damage from the killer effects. Ichigo, in this case, won't have killer, but he is going to be giving his recharge in between stages, and he is a premium character. Maybe you have him duped out. Maybe you could use him in slot 3. I think he'll be a serviceable character. In this case, you could look at just bringing a Aaroniero killer, so they get the killer effect times 3. And in this case, someone like Kyogre, a character that realistically you can use every month in slot 3, and unironically would have been the best character this month for slot 3, but given that Yuha is buffing 2 of the main characters you're being required or more so encouraged to use, Yuha is going to be better. But given that, you know, Kyogre has a high enough damage output anyway, Frenzy 2, 80% SP boost with the Rampage skill, he's always usable in slot 3, more so now than ever, given that he does have killer effects here, but he's just going to serve as an overall good standalone character since he is also going to recharge his strong attacks in between stages. For any other Aaroniero killer, I guess if you really wanted to, you could bring someone like 7th Anniversary Ichigo, Uryu, and even 1000-year Blood War Concord Ichigo, but they're obviously going to be lacking compared to some of the newer characters. So I would like to say this is going to be quite the easy month of Limit Breaker, right? The stages aren't too hard to fulfill. It's also setting up to be a really fun Limit Breaker quest if you have the perfect team, in this case Ishin, White, and also Yuha. It's very rare for us to bring a team that can take advantage of the recharge in between stages where every character is getting that recharge. And having a team like these 3, which is really cool given that all 1000-year Blood War characters in some ways have relation to each other, and they're all 3 in their own right powerhouse characters, literally the 3 best mind characters in the game. Having them in the same team it's going to be really fun if you can pull it off. But if you can't, you have some good alternatives. Again, slot 1 has a premium alternative that does get all the damage buffs and is a good enough character to bring in slot 1, in this case the visored version of Lisa. Slot 2, of course, is encourage you to bring White, but of course he is a premium character. You might have him. If you do, you're set. You're perfectly fine. Alternatively though, just bring any melee character that does have a surrogate killer. And then slot 3, you can bring any character you want to. You can bring Yuha, you can bring Kyogre, 1000-year Blood War Aizen, 1000-year Blood War Rangiku, or any potentially good Aaroniero killer, or just a good technique character. Definitely a lot of good characters you can bring this time around. I don't think anyone should really struggle getting to upwards to stage 20 where you therefore get all the rewards. We'll have to wait and see how it does play out though, but let me know the team you plan to use in the comments below. For me, it's going to be this team, but again, if I can rock this team, if I pull Ishin in the 10 steps that I plan to do on the end of month banner, well, I'm looking forward to trying out the team myself. Either way though, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time, take care, and peace.